Clint, the upcoming budget. We just played that little bit from Matthew Hooton. The biggest spend, the biggest borrow, the biggest amount of cuts all in one hit. He didn't quite say it like that, but this conservative commentator seems to think, mother of all budgets 2.0 on the way.
I mean, the nominal numbers always go up, right? There's inflation, there's population growth, there's GDP growth. So the amount of dollars that is spent each budget and raised in revenue each budget, they always, if they didn't rise, then we would be either in deflation or like catastrophic depression. So I remember Don Brash, trying to run the same thing of, we're going to spend more on health than ever, and it's like, $1 more. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It's not meaningful. It's quite clear that, Nicola came out and said it, right? There's only 1.3 billion for new operating allowance spending in the budget. I know Craig's sort of run through this before, but why is there only 1.3 billion? Well, what happens is you go, I want to have debt at X level in 4 years. That gives me, based on what we think the economy's going to do, that'll give me X amount to spend, given how much revenue I think I'll raise. And so the primary constraint on that is where you set the debt track. And they are desperate to get back into surplus in 28, 29, even though, in the scale of a $400 billion would be $500 billion economy by then, $1 billion each way, it's irrelevant to the people who lend us money. But they're determined, we're going to have to, she's going to open the books and say, we're still on track to make surplus in 2029. And that tightens everything up because they refuse to raise any money. And so all that's left is the only lever they can move is spending. And so there's not enough money for even the commitments they've already made and the commitments that they've been making over the past few days. And so they have to find cuts. But of course, if they step back, they could say, well, we could raise more revenue. We could undo the revenue cuts that we made last year, which, have they transformed the economy? The $3 billion going to landlords and the other $14 billion of tax cuts? No one's noticed that. They could undo those tax cuts, and then there would be revenue that could be spent on things like health. But no, they're not going to do that. So they've cast around, where can we find the billions of dollars that we need to make the commitments that we pay for the commitments we've already made, given the very tight window of available new spending that we've created ourselves, and pay for the things like ensuring that the education system doesn't collapse, because that needs new money every year just to keep up with inflation, and all those other things that need funding just to keep up with inflation. And they've looked around and said, well, how about them poor workers? How about those women who spend their day helping old people clean themselves? Why don't we make it so they can't get fair pay?
Because they've all had it too good for too long, those groups of people. Too good for too long. It's time to take them down a peg or two to join the rest of us.
Yeah. And it's kind of, someone was saying the other day how Nicola Wills is actually quite ideological, and that shines through because her claim is, well, this is the funded sector. These aren't actually government employees. So they're technically employed by private organizations. And so why should the government be funding these settlements? Well, these people are performing public services. The funded sector are performing public services. The providers that they work for are contracted to the government.
Yeah.
Probably they should be just public servants. But we have the system, so the government gives money to contractors who pay the workers. And those contracts determine the level of pay that those people get. And so for Willis to turn around and say, well, that if there's pay disparities and pay inequity for care and support workers and community nurses, that's not my problem. Well, it is. You're actually the paymaster at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to pay them billions of dollars. And it worked out because she also needed to find billions of dollars of cuts to ultimately fund the tax cuts that she made last year. So here we are.
I've got a question for you, Clint. It's a bit of a random one because I've heard a few rumours going around about people getting together, citizens initiated referendum for putting the law back to being what it was, the Equal Pay Act, back to what it was, and the idea is, from what my sources are telling me, that it then could put it on the next election as a ballot question, and then literally when you go in to tick what you want to tick, there's also going to be a lovely reminder there of how these guys ripped money away from the most vulnerable women. Do you know anything about it? Have you heard that going around?
I have heard people talking about it. And when was it? Andrew Little's campaign launch on the weekend down here. I was saying to everyone, I think it's a fantastic idea. When someone first said it to me, I slightly recalled because as many of your watchers, I'm sure, and listeners, I was involved in the asset sales referendum back in 2013. But it's a big piece of work, right? You have to get out there, get 300,000 odd signatures signed, and get them in within 12 months, and that triggers the referendum. But actually, if you're looking at it now, how do we take this pay equity issue forward? How do we keep on making it relevant and give people hope that there's going to be a solution? Because there's 300,000 women who just got ripped off and 300,000 households who are poorer as a result of this decision. And they deserve, actually, to have hope that that they're going to have their rights restored. And the left should come together and show that they're committed to that, by something like a citizens initiation referendum petition. And it would also I think it'd be a great uniter for the left. We're kind of in this situation where the government's done a lot of bad stuff. The Greens have gone off and done their alternative budget, which is really great. Labour's getting themselves together. Te Pāti Māori's doing their thing, but there's no kind of united front, as it were. And I think that this kind of thing could really galvanise the movement, get everyone organised, and then, like you say, if it was completed in time early next year, I think you have 12 months from when the question is formally signed off by the clerk of the House to get the signatures, get it in time, and then there's the question goes on to Luxon, where are you going to put this on the ballot, or are you going to hold a separate referendum after the election at the cost of $15 million because you are too chicken to talk about this at the election? So yeah, I understand people are talking about this, and from my perspective, it would be a great one.
It would be such a clever plan, because you think about that now. Step away from this one issue. What other issue? Right, let's get a citizens initiated referendum up for changing the names on signs back to Māori and English. And what I'm saying is, if that was also on the ballot at the election time, then they're going to go, oh, that's right. And these guys, that's right. Oh no, I didn't like those things. It would be a reminder, literally, it'd be an advert, literally in the ballot box as a reminder of what these guys have done. It's if this happens and the people who are behind it, it's pretty clever. As I said, I just heard it on the on the grapevine, but yeah.
I think actually, I mean, I remember trying to being part of collecting the signatures in 2013 for asset sales, and it was a slog. We got the first 150,000 pretty easily, and then getting the rest takes a lot of time. I think it will be different with pay equity, because there's 300,000 people who are already directly affected.
Yeah, and their families, and their friends, and their parents, and all right. Exactly. Hey, it's probably getting time to wrap up, Chewie. You've been, and I've noticed the chat has been saying how quiet you are, Chewie. I'm sorry that we pulled you away from your fan base. Is there anything else you want to ask or mention to Clint before we move on?
Look, I would just say, you mentioned Nicola Willis being ideological. I think she's drowning because the ideology The New Zealand Initiative handbook here is just absolutely leaving her for dust. And the complex environment that New Zealand is operating in on a global economy level, being turbocharged by her coming in and making some of the most asinine shoot from the hips, fuck the consequences, it'll all be fine decisions, means that she has literally painted herself into a corner. The things that I am expecting to see, and there's certainly been indications of that, is that they're going to open up the New Zealand Super Fund to put into a venture capital fund, which, like if you want to put a different spin on that, they're cracking open my retirement fund to feed into private business, to again help balance their books. They're taking money away from the people that have the least amount of it. And they're leaving their donors completely safe on high ground. And we're just going to see more of that, because there is no sign that this government feels any need to listen to us, feels no need to stray off the path that they have created for themselves. And whether it's for that plan of like, we're going to use this situation for austerity and privatization, because that was always the plan, or we have no idea what we're doing and this is where we've ended up, so keep doing what we're doing. It's not going to be good.
I think it's all incredibly arrogant. They're governing like they are light years ahead of the opposition, or they've been in so long that they're completely out of touch. And this is the first term government. It shouldn't be like this. They should be treated more carefully. Where's the hope going to be in this budget? There'll be some carrot. They've suggested there might be something around KiwiSaver, although they're not going to increase the government contribution to KiwiSaver. If anything, they're likely to reduce it, target it. So what, they're going to force up the employee contribution? Because they won't force up the employer contribution, of course.
No, of course not.
So what, so the sweetener is that we have to put more into our KiwiSaver, whether we can afford it or not, at a time when there's a record number of Kiwis actually having to dip into their KiwiSaver for financial hardship reasons. And I think that we're going to see some other things like, I hate to say it because I think it's a great program, Warmer Kiwi Homes might be cut back. That's the installation program.
Fantastic.
I think because even with pay equity, they still need a lot of money just to balance out the hole that they made on purpose with the tax cuts.
You talk about KiwiSaver. I think we're looking at a 1-2 punch. I think it's something like that. Yeah, we're going to remove government contributions altogether. We're going to increase the money that you have to put in KiwiSaver, and we're going to put up the retirement age. So you've got to wait even longer to get it, and we hope that you die beforehand, because you won't have enough money to go into our private healthcare facilities. Maybe that's just me looking into a grim, dark future.
Yeah, there'll be some sweetener. Unless they really have lost their minds, there'll be some sweetener that they've kept very quiet, because that's what you do. But they are doing some strange behavior at the moment. They're governing like they don't care if they lose.
That sounds like the worst the worst encouragement ever. Dance like no one's watching. Govern like you're not, I don't, that should be be the t-shirt.
Live, laugh, cut.
Yeah, there you go. I think we've just come up with some new t-shirts here. Hey, Clint, thanks for joining us tonight. Just to let people know as well, Craig Rennie is going to be with us, and Barbara Edmonds on, I nearly said election night, on budget night. So they'll both be here with us live. Every chance I'm also going to do a quick 2 p.m. live broadcast with Craig as well, straight out of the lockup, to give you some headlines as to what's going on as well. But Clint, thanks for being a part of us, man. It's been good tonight. Hopefully, I know you're not based in Auckland, but if you happen to be in Auckland on the weekend of June the 5th, you should come along and say good day and catch up. Be good.
I'd love to. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.